Good morning, everyone. This is Dylan Mangel here with Nebraska Extension. I thought I'd sit down before the holiday weekend and try and do a quick update on white mold across the state. We're coming into a time where if we get the right moisture and if we get the right overcast conditions, or even just have a lot of soil moisture that's going to drive humidity under closed canopies, we could end up with bad white mold in fields with a history of white mold. I'm trying to bring this up so much right now because this is that decision-making time. Sometime around July 10th or so seems to be the peak of the disease infection here in Nebraska. So getting out there and making decisions now, unfortunately over this holiday weekend, to get those fields sprayed and controlled for white mold if you've lost significant yield to this in the past. So what I want to show you today is just some videos that we've gathered from some of our field research where we're doing observations on white mold across the state, just to give you guys an idea of what we're seeing. So on the screen here you can see we've got a time-lapse. This is in east central Nebraska. It's an irrigated field. And it starts off on June 16th. And what you can see here is on the surface, we've got sclerotia. We've got surviving white mold structures from the previous year. So these are structures that grew when beans were in this field in 2023. They grew in and on those bean plants. And then when the plants were threshed, they fell free onto the soil. And that's what we're seeing kind of right here. These structures are called sclerotia. They come in all different sizes, large, small, and how they cause disease is they wait and they will grow a mushroom at the top of them when they're ready to infect those plants. Now, the plants are only susceptible during flowering, so a lot of that's dependent on when those flowers show up, the weather conditions at that time, which will impact the survivability of the spores that come out of these mushrooms. So I just want to show you this video and give you an idea of kind of what we've been seeing in the field this year. First thing is just a surprising amount of worms and night crawlers. Here's one of them that just popped up on the screen there. They tend to come out in morning and night. I've spent a lot of time in fields and I was surprised just by how many we see, especially after it rains. The surface is just crawling with them. This is 5 times speed sped up, just to show you a couple days passing. It's drying out there. You can see the surface drying and cracks starting to form. The sclerotia really aren't going to do much, and mushrooms just don't like to grow in this weather. That surface might be 100 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe a little higher with the sun shining on it. But once it gets shaded out, we see differences between above and below canopy temperatures or protected and unprotected soil temperatures of 30 degrees. So it can be 90 degrees above the canopy and it can be 70 degrees below it. So big differences, and that's what's going to allow those mushrooms the ability to grow comfortably. Here's some more rain. Some rainstorms just passed. We'll speed it up a couple days. And you can see several quick rainstorms pass by. These sclerotia are rock hard, and when rain happens and they get consistent moisture and shading, they'll absorb that moisture and start to prepare to grow mushrooms. And you can see right here, there's other mushrooms growing in this field. In that bottom, there's a corn cob in the bottom right above the time stamp. That's a mushroom growing out of that or growing up next to that. Here's some more on the right side of it. But it's that rainstorm that passed in the previous hours and the previous day that allowed those to grow. You can see the dew on the camera in the morning sort of fogging it up and burning off. That dew is going to be on the leaves as well, and it's going to last longer and longer into the day under that canopy once we get moisture. So we're getting up to June 29th. Those mushrooms in the bottom center are still growing. You see them drying down during the day. I kind of assume once a mushroom dried down, it was pretty much done, but notice this, that it dries down during the day and then grows again during the night. If you look at this sclerotia down here in the bottom center, there's a mushroom growing. That's not growing out of the sclerotia. I went out and looked at it in person. It's growing up next to it, so that's not a white mold mushroom. We will get those later on, though, and they'll kind of look like they're growing. They will look like they're growing directly out of them. So that's the time lapse. That's what we're seeing in the field right now. We've got several of these stations set up across the state. We're following this disease development. We're watching it closely, and we're trying to get the message out as soon as possible. But you can see just over that time lapse how big those beans grew from the 16th to the 30th. This is 30-inch rows. If you're on 15-inch rows, your canopies are probably closed or extremely close to it, or they've been closed for a while. The beans are kind of all over in the state right now. But that's going to impact when these mushrooms grow out of the sclerotia. Spores are going to come out of those mushrooms, and they're going to land on flowering plants. That's going to start this white mold infection, and that's the only time we can get in there and prevent that. The in-season control method for this right now is chemical control. There's a lot of biologicals coming available. There's other cultural practices, several things you can do, but all of those really focus on out-of-season treatment. Right now, if you're going to make a chemical application for chemical control, a foliar fungicide is what's going to do it. And based on other disease history, what we've been seeing in the state, if you have a history of white mold in your field, I'd say that's the number one place you need to focus your foliar fungicide applications. So maybe instead of an R3, move up to do an R1. Just back here on the screen, I'll share a couple resources. This is the Crop Protection Network Fungicide Efficacy Guide for soybeans. We have these for corn, we've got these for wheat, we also have these for seed treatments of soybean as well. This is a product of land-grant university, so we contribute to this data here from fields in Nebraska, often with funding from the checkoff. The Nebraska Soybean Board has funded research into help improving these ratings. So look at a product you're thinking about using to manage white mold, and you can see what's labeled, what does fair, what's good, what's very good. And there's a couple things that are unknown that we're working on filling out. So these tables are available. You can find these at cropprotectionnetwork.org, or we'll put a link in the description of the video. I also just want to show you real quick that I put out another article last week on soybean white mold management. This is more in-depth information on what I showed you in this video, and you can find that at cropwatch.unl.edu. Thank you everyone for watching this quick video update. If you'd like more information on this, try to visit some of those resources I just mentioned, or you can click back in our YouTube channel and find other videos I've posted recently, including one long-form video, more in-depth on management of white mold. Always feel free to reach out to Nebraska Extension if you have any other questions. Again, I'm Dylan Mangel, Extension Plant Pathologist with Nebraska Extension. Thanks for watching.